Welcome to our live training session here with our K20 Supercharged NSX. We're going to be learning how to calibrate and tune this vehicle using an AEM Infinity engine management system. Let's jump into some details about this vehicle. It's going to have a bone stock K20A engine swap. In addition to this, it's going to have a Racing 2300 supercharger kit that has a custom air-to-liquid intercooler and a custom front mount heat exchanger that's built into the radiator core on this particular vehicle. On the fuel system side of things, we have ID 1700cc injectors. We have dual 450 liter per hour ethanol specific Walbro fuel pumps. We have a Weldon fuel pressure regulator with custom lines and a regulator, so everything has been set up here to handle a lot of horsepower. Now, we have a flex fuel sensor installed into the fuel system. We will be tuning this on 93 octane and on ethanol as well. Now, in addition to this, it has a custom 4-to-1 header and a custom exhaust. And on top of this, we have a couple additional sensors that have been added. We have a Bosch flat response knock sensor, we have a fuel pressure sensor, we have an oil pressure sensor, and we also have a onboard wideband that the Infinity is going to be using, and we're going to be setting that up for closed loop correction during our calibration process. We have a lot to cover and talk about, so let's jump into our very first tutorial here and learn how to build a base calibration file from scratch so we can begin our live training process. Welcome to our live training session here with our Supercharged K-Series swapped NSX. Now, we just went over the details of the vehicle. Let's jump into our AEM Infinity Tuner software in order to create our base session file that we're going to be uploading and going in and getting the engine to fire off and go through the live training process with. Now, what we're going to do here, the very first focus of this video is going to be going through and setting up all the inputs and outputs and all the basic background configuration details specific to the car. Then we'll go through a little bit later in the tutorial and take a look at how to calibrate two-dimensional and three-dimensional tables. These are things like our air temp compensation or our volumetric efficiency table. So we have a lot of things to set up and configure in this tutorial. Let's jump in right now and take a look at how we can start building a base map or a base session file for this vehicle. Now, the first thing we need to do is establish if there's a plug-and-play application that we're dealing with or it's going to be a custom application. Now, in this situation, this is obviously a Wyattly custom-built car, so the engine does not belong in this car. The wiring harness on this car is all custom. However, what we're dealing with here is a plug-and-play setup, so the Honda K-Series engine harness is fitted to the engine, and then between the Infinity and the OEM harness, we have a plug-and-play jumper harness. So because we're using the plug-and-play jumper harness from AEM, that means that we can use the base session file from AEM. That's going to be speeding up the process here a little bit. Some of the inputs and outputs are already configured for us already, but we need to go and make sure we're calibrating everything and setting everything up so we have the best success when we get the engine to fire off and run. What we're going to do right now is open up that specific base session file for a plug-and-play Honda K-Series application. So if I go in here to my file and I go to Open Saved Session, and what we're going to do right now is jump in this case here, let me just go through my directory. I'm going to go to Documents and then go into AEM, then go to Infinity Tuner, and we're going to go here to Sessions and to Base Sessions. And then in this case, this vehicle is running, the Infinity is running a 96.3 firmware. Now the 96.5 has been released, although I have not updated this to the 96.5 firmware because none of the features for this particular car need to run on the 96.5. So I'm just going to leave it on 96.3. We might have some more future vehicles here with Infinity that we will go through and take a look at maybe some of the features with 96.5, but again, none of those are applicable to this vehicle at this point in time. So I'm going to go and just grab 96.3. Now in here, I'm going to go to the Infinity 506, Infinity 508 subfolder, and then if we go down here, I have a lot of different files saved in here. If we go down, you will find these base session files from AEM. We'll find that we have a Honda K20A3 96.3 firmware file. That's what we're going to start off with. This is the base file for a Honda K-Series engine using the plug-and-play jumper harness that AEM sells for the Infinity. So I'm going to grab that file right here and I'm going to click Open. And it's going to open up and we're going to start to take a look at it. Now, a few things. I'm in the offline mode right now. So the ignition key is off. I do have my laptop plugged into the Infinity, but the Infinity is not powered on. So everything's powered off. We can see at the very top here, we're looking at a saved session. This isn't green. When this turns green here, that means we're communicating and everything's powered on. We are in the offline mode. So we can build our base file in the offline mode. And then when we save it, in the next video, when we power on the box, we can import our session file that we've created in this tutorial in the offline mode, and then upload that to the Infinity. So you don't have to be tied to your car when you're building your base file. Although I am sitting in the car right now, I don't need to be. I could be sitting anywhere and building this base file. But let's go through and start off taking a look at the things that we need to go and calibrate. Now, thing I want to mention here, the layout that I'm dealing with, that's going to be how we have all these page structures. You can download this right from the AEM Infinity course, the actual library, the training course. You'll find that it's going to be the layout specific to the AEM Infinity Tuner software, so I provide that. You can follow along with exactly what I have on screen, and what I have here is what I use day-to-day tuning and calibrating with the Infinity. So this is my custom workspace that I work with pretty frequently. You can definitely modify and change it, but this is going to give you a really good starting point. And again, you can follow along with exactly what I'm doing in the tutorial. Okay, so first thing here, we can take a look at our pages. These are all the two-dimensional and three-dimensional tables that we're going to deal with a little bit later in the tutorial. What we want to do right now is set up all the inputs and outputs specific to the vehicle. We can find the input and output configuration if we go up here to the top and we go under Wizards, and we go here in our drop down and we go to our Setup Wizard. And our Setup Wizard, we're going to find here we have our basic setup and then advanced setup. We need to go through all of our tables here, all the windows in our setup configuration, so that we're making sure we're accounting for all the details for the engine here. So the first thing I want to do is jump into engine, and we're going to take a look at some of these details. So the engine displacement, it is a 2-liter engine, so we're going to keep it as 2-liter. This is a Honda K20 A2 engine. It is bone stock. Nothing's been done to it internally, so it is a 2-liter, and that's what we're going to stick with here. Number of cylinders is a 4. It is a 4-stroke engine. Ignition type, sequential coil and plug. It's factory direct fire coil and plug, so we're going to stick with that. The injection type here, 1 injector per cylinder, sequential injection. That's what Honda has designated the injector type as, so we're going to be sticking with that. That's going to be just OEM. The firing order is 1342. And airflow calculation method, we find we have some choices. We're going to stick with VE-based style calculations. Our main spark map load axes, we want to keep that on map. And the VE table load axes, we're going to keep this on map as well. So this is going to be in our main spark and main VE table, what the load axes are going to represent. That's going to be taking a look, and when we choose map, is going to be our map pressure sensor. We do have other options here. We can see throttle, mass flow, map over EMAP, and map over baro. In this case, I'm going to be just sticking with map pressure here for this particular car. Now, we don't have a baro sensor wired into the Infinity, but if I did, that would be a solid option to choose. Map over baro will allow you to compensate for any elevation changes as you're driving. Right now, the way this is set up here, it does not have a baro reference. So if we're changing huge elevation change, let's say we're going from sea level to 10,000 feet, it could create some fueling problems. And if we're choosing map over baro, that would be a better option, but we do need to wire baro pressure sensor into the Infinity. Again, we do not have that. So right now I'm going to just stick with my map as my option here for both of these. All right, let's go ahead and... Thanks for checking out our teaser clip. If you want to see the rest of this video and more than 500 hours of current EFI training we have to offer, make sure you click right here. If you want to go and check out more teaser clips from this training course, click here, and you don't want to miss any of the videos we're going to be releasing on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.